So Team Jack actually has been a participant with us in a number of trials, most recently that being Tak580 or Day 101, which has recently changed names. It's actually with their support that we have managed to run this trial. I think without them, it's not a trial that would have gotten off the ground. And over the years, through their support of Dr. Stiles' lab, who worked in collaboration with Dr. Burlage and Dr. Gray, to really bring this drug to the forefront. And then from that, they've actually continued their financial support to actually move that preclinical work into the clinical arena and actually get the drugs directly to the patient, which tends to be, I think, an issue in general for pediatrics. One, because it's not a priority often for pharma companies, and secondly, because it's really difficult to get funding for clinical trials. So they've been very instrumental in that part of the work. We truly appreciate the support of Team Jack for pediatric low-grade gliomas. I think it's a disease that often gets overlooked. And so in 77 years, they've only come up with about 3 drugs for pediatric indications. Adult studies, in 7 years, they've come up with 77 drugs. And so it's really with the help of Team Jack that we've gotten this trial to where it is in a relatively short amount of time. And so within the span of 2 years, we actually had a trial open and accruing. We were on hold for a year, basically because of funding, but fortunately Team Jack was able to come through and were able to kind of reopen, knowing that the trial will likely accrue and finished within the next probably 1 to 2 years. I certainly can say that I wouldn't have been able to do that without Team Jack's support. We've definitely managed to actually get this from the lab into patients much faster than you would kind of based on historical data. For me, partnering with Team Jack really has, I think, moved at least a drug that we were passionate about in terms of its potential from the lab into the clinic. I think that doesn't happen very often. We often take drugs from the adult world that maybe have potential utility in adults, and we see a signal and we try to then translate it to children. But we all know that children are not small adults. And so I think the ideal thing about this particular drug is that it was developed for a pediatric indication, and we're actually moving it at a relatively fast pace into the clinic to reach patients and making a difference. I think the fact that there are these grassroots groups started by families and parents for whom it's important and they know that we need new drugs in the field, to make those efforts and do the fundraising that really helps us push the drugs forward really has been a lot of the advancement in pediatric clinical trials. It's actually not what necessarily comes from drug companies or funding sources in terms of grants. It's more the parents who start these kind of groups and organizations to raise funds. That's been really the heart and soul of this trial, is that they've been able to do that for us so that we could actually move it forward and offer it to patients. When you think about targeted agents, that's really the goal, is to not only treat the tumor and make the child's life better, but really cut down on the side effects that we see acutely and the side effects that we see long term. And so kids are able to go to school, participate with their friends in the things that they normally want to do. I can think of one patient in particular. She's had about 6 different kind of chemotherapy regimens in the course of her short lifetime, not even being 10 years of age yet. And this really has been the first drug that's actually shrunk her tumor, to the amazement of her parents and to her treating physicians. So I think, aside from the fact that it's managed to make a difference in tumor size, she's also still a kid and still gets to do all the things that she loves to do. And so the move has really been away from standard chemotherapy to these much more targeted agents, which has been one of the aims of Team Jack when you kind of look at sort of their goals for their mission. One is making sort of new discoveries, bringing those to children. and ultimately things that will improve your quality of life. And so I think this drug has kind of met all those particular points, and the fact that we've had their help to move it through, I think really is just exemplary of their goal and what their mission is in terms of making a difference for patients.